In ancient Greece, storytellers gathered crowds with tales that explained the very origins of their world. These weren't just entertainment, they were sacred truths that helped Greeks understand their place in the universe. Among all their myths, none was more fundamental than the Titanomachy, the great war between generations of gods that established the divine order we know today. Our story begins with Cronus, the youngest yet most powerful of the mighty Titans who ruled the world before the Olympian gods. Cronus had overthrown his own father, the primordial sky god Uranus, in a brutal act of rebellion. But victory came with a terrifying prophecy. One of his children would do the same to him. Consumed by paranoia, Cronus devised a horrific solution. Each time his wife Rhea gave birth, he waited, a monstrous hunger in his eyes, and would swallow the newborn whole, trapping his children in the darkness of his belly. 5 children met this terrible fate: Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon. For years they existed in a purgatory of divine darkness, slowly maturing within their father's immense stomach. But when Rhea was pregnant with her 6th child, she couldn't bear to lose another. The great Earth Mother grieved silently for the loss of her progeny. She fled to the island of Crete, where she gave birth to Zeus in a hidden cave, the sacred Dictaean cave. Instead of presenting the baby to Cronus, she wrapped a stone in swaddling clothes. The Titan King, so focused on his fear, swallowed the decoy with a great gulp without noticing the deception. Zeus grew up in secret, raised by nymphs and fed on ambrosial honey and goat's milk from the nymph goat Amalthea. The future king of the gods learned cunning from his protectors and strength from his divine heritage. When he reached adulthood, Zeus knew his destiny. He had to free his siblings and challenge his father's reign. With the help of Metis, a titaness of wisdom and often described as his first wife, Zeus prepared a special potion. Disguised as a cupbearer, he served the mixture to Cronus. The powerful emetic worked immediately, forcing the Titan to vomit up Zeus's 5 siblings, fully grown and burning with rage after years of imprisonment in their father's stomach. It was a moment of agonizing rebirth, a violent expulsion that signaled the end of the old world. The 6 Olympians now faced a terrible choice. They could accept their father's rule and live as subjects, or they could declare war against the most powerful beings in existence. The Titans had ruled for eons, commanding forces beyond imagination. They controlled the earth, the seas, and the very fabric of reality itself. Zeus made the fateful decision. The young gods would fight for their freedom, no matter the cost. The stage was set for the defining conflict of the Greek cosmos. But the Olympians couldn't win alone. Zeus descended to the deepest part of the underworld, a prison called Tartarus, where Cronus had locked away the monstrous offspring of Uranus, the Cyclopes and the Hecatoncheires. These were beings of raw, untamed power. The Cyclopes were master craftsmen with single eyes that could see the truth of all things. The Hecatoncheires were giants with 50 heads and 100 arms each, possessing strength that could move mountains. Zeus freed these forgotten uncles, promising them honor and position in his new order. Grateful for their liberation, the Cyclopes forged legendary weapons for the young gods. They gave Zeus his thunderbolts, bolts of pure divine plasma crackling with the power to split the sky. Poseidon received his mighty trident, capable of shaking the earth and commanding the seas. Hades was granted a helmet of invisibility, the helm of darkness, allowing him to move unseen through any realm. The Hecatoncheires pledged their devastating strength to Zeus's cause, their 100 arms capable of hurling whole cliffs and mountainsides like rain from the heavens. Meanwhile, Cronus rallied most of the Titans to his banner. These weren't ordinary beings, they were forces of nature incarnate. Atlas, the resolute, held up the heavens themselves. Prometheus, the insightful, had the gift of foresight. Oceanus, the encompassing, controlled all the world's waters. Each Titan commanded powers that could reshape continents. The war that followed lasted 10 brutal years, a decade of unceasing cataclysmic struggle shaking the cosmos to its core. The earth cracked and mountains crumbled as divine forces clashed. Zeus hurled thunderbolts that lit up the sky like permanent lightning. The seas boiled when Poseidon and Oceanus fought. The very air burned with the heat of divine fury. The sounds of the clash were said to deafen mortals for generations. The Hecatoncheires proved crucial allies. their 100 arms launching massive boulders in devastating barrages that even the Titans couldn't withstand. The sound of battle echoed through all the realms, from the highest peaks of Mount Olympus, which served as the Olympian base, to the deepest caverns of the underworld. But the conflict wasn't just about raw power. It represented something deeper, the eternal struggle between old and new, tradition and progress, fear and hope. Cronus fought to maintain a world built on his terror of change. Zeus battled for a future where gods could rule through strength and wisdom rather than paranoia. The tide began to turn when several Titans switched sides. Prometheus, whose name means forethought, used his gift of prophecy to see Zeus's inevitable victory. He convinced other Titans that the old order was doomed. These shifts in loyalty were profound, indicating a deeper cultural and cosmic acceptance of the new generation's right to rule. The final battle took place on the slopes of Mount Othrys, the Titans' stronghold. Zeus unleashed the full fury of his thunderbolts, splitting the mountain itself. The Hecatonchires buried their enemies under avalanches of stone. The earth itself seemed to scream as divine blood watered the soil. When the smoke cleared, the Titans lay defeated. Most were cast into Tartarus, the same prison where they had once kept the Cyclopes and Hecatonchires. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The oppressors had become the imprisoned, chained by the very hands they once scorned. But Zeus showed wisdom beyond his years in victory. He didn't rule through fear like his father. Atlas received the eternal task of holding up the heavens at the far western edge of the world, a punishment that also served a necessary cosmic function. Prometheus, who had aided the Olympians, was honored with special status. The new king of the gods understood that lasting power came from justice, not just strength. This shift from brutal tyranny to structured authority defined the Olympians. The Olympians divided the cosmos among themselves by drawing lots. Zeus claimed the sky and became king of all gods. Poseidon took dominion over the seas and all waters. Hades accepted rule of the underworld and the realm of the dead. Their sisters became goddesses of essential aspects of life. Hera as queen of the gods and goddess of marriage, Demeter as goddess of the harvest, and Hestia as protector of the hearth. This cosmic changing of the guard established the divine order that would govern Greek religion for thousands of years. This was the transition from chaos to cosmos. But more than that, the Titanomachy spoke to universal human experiences. Every generation faces the challenge of surpassing their elders while respecting what came before. Every society must balance tradition with progress. The Titanomachy's influence extends far beyond ancient Greece. It inspired countless works of art, from classical sculptures to modern films. The themes of generational conflict and the price of power resonate in literature from Shakespeare to contemporary fantasy novels. This epic war between gods reminds us that change is inevitable, but how we handle that change determines whether we become tyrants or leaders. Zeus's victory wasn't just about strength, it was about having the wisdom to build something better than what came before. In our own lives, we face similar choices between fear and hope, control and trust, tradition and progress. The Titanomachy shows us that the greatest victories aren't won through force alone, but through the courage to imagine and create a better world. Please like and subscribe for more.